Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Today, we're talking about the consolidation and maintenance of power, impact of foreign policy. Now, much like the opposition video, this one I will be moving a little bit faster because there's a lot of things to move over. There's 4 examples that we need to move over today. So, just as a refresher, consolidation is the action of process of combining several things into a single, more effective, coherent whole, such as mainly focusing on power. Remember, everything we're talking about today is all about power. Maintenance is the process of maintaining or preserving something or someone, maintaining power. Now, foreign policy. Today we're talking about the impact of foreign policy, and you are supposed to think about whether these foreign policies were successful, and I'll talk a little bit about that during each of these examples, and decide if that was helpful in helping Hitler maintain his power. Everything we're talking about today is all about maintenance of power. None of this is consolidation. So, what is foreign policy? Well, foreign policy is objectives and activities in relations and interactions with other states. How 2 states interact with each other, whether it's a union, political entities, or whether it's bilateral or multilateral platforms. Essentially, what that's saying is how Germany interacted with Poland, Austria, Czechoslovakia, and multiple other places, as we are going to discuss today. Now remember, you're going to be picking some examples from some of the reading. I'm going to be going over the Treaty of Versailles and the Saarland, the Anti-Cominterm Pact, the Polish crisis, and the Nazi-Soviet Pact of Non-Aggression. There are things that are happening in between these that can build up, that tie into each other, but these are the 4 you absolutely need to know, both for paper 2 and for paper 1. So let's dive right in. Now, the impact of the foreign policy of the Treaty of Versailles and the Saarland. So Hitler from the get-go has always been saying we need to overturn the Treaty of Versailles. We need to undo this. We need to start working towards it. So when he comes into power in 1933, hey, the time is now, my guy. Let's see you fulfill your promise. And so he does. He approaches Britain, France, Italy, and the League of Nations and says, we are going to modify the Treaty of Versailles. We are not going to allow you to do what you are doing. And he tries to be very aggressive about it. And the reception he gets from Italy and from Britain is, you know what? We'd be willing to work with you on this. We'll talk with you about it. We'll figure something out. Mainly because Italy is controlled by Mussolini, who in 1933 is willing to kind of see and play the field, because ultimately Italy also wants to take over the world, as we already know. And Britain wants to make sure and establish more peace within the world. And now that there's a new government in Germany, or a relatively new government in Germany, Britain wants to really figure out, all right, let's talk this through. Whereas France, who was the person who suffered the most damages from the war, said, no, we're not going to do anything on the revising of the Treaty of Versailles. And so, because they could not get a consensus, there was no modifications made to the Treaty of Versailles. That the way he attempted to modify, and the small things he did, Italy and Britain were like, okay, you can do those just like quietly. Shh, don't really make a big deal out of this. And France was pretty upset about this. And this ultimately showed the people of Germany, hey, this guy is following through with what he says. Hitler said he's attacking the Treaty of Versailles and he's going to modify it. And that's exactly what he's doing here. But something that he really wants to focus on is a part of territory that was taken from Germany called the Saarland. It's this little red spot right here. It exists in between France and Germany. And he wants to take this land back so that Germany can start to become whole again. And France said, absolutely not. You're not getting any of this territory back in 1935. And so Britain and Italy both talked to France and say, hey, hold on. We did take this land away from Germany, and they have been with you for the past 20-ish years. So how about we have them make a vote? How about we make the people of Saarland take a vote to decide who they want to be in charge, who they want to be a part of. Do they want to be a part of Germany, or do they want to be a part of France? This is called being a plebiscite. This is what this is called, is a plebiscite. So they decided to take a vote. Incidentally, the Nazi Party just happened to make sure that they sent as many people as they possibly could in the Saarland, which resulted in a 90% vote in favor of rejoining Germany. So between 33 and 35, Hitler has fulfilled his two biggest promises. One, to modify the Treaty of Versailles. Two, get land back that Germany lost. Right now, Hitler is absolutely fulfilling every aspect he ever had with his election and how he wanted to try and get power. So we're starting to see a very interesting dynamic where the people of Germany are like, Hitler is the real deal. He is, maybe all the power we gave him was a good thing. Then we get to the next year in November 1935, where Germany starts to realize that because of France not wanting to really help them, and because Britain is being a little wishy-washy and not very solid, and Italy, as you learned in the Italian unit with the Stresa Front, fought against Germany, they need to find new alliances. So they create the Anti-Cominterm. What this means is the Anti-Communist International, where Germany reaches out to Japan and says, "Hey, let's make a deal. Let's get together. Let's join ourselves to potentially fight against the Soviet Union." Because if you look at the map of the world, you have Germany on one side, and then it borders the Soviet Union, which goes all the way to the Pacific Ocean, where the next person who borders them was Japan, China, Mongolia. So Nazi Germany, and as you've learned about in the Imperial Japanese unit for Paper 1, Japan is more than willing to work with Germany because they do not want to work with Britain. They do not want to work with any other country. And so we start to get the alliance structure that gets built. Then, in 1937, Italy joins the Anti-Cominterm Pact. Italy signs this policy. And when he signs this, or when they sign this, Hitler, Japan, and Italy make what's called the Tripartite Pact. All of it is based off of the fact that these three countries, Germany, Italy, and Japan, are going to cut up the world into who controls what, and they're going to maintain that area. This was a huge success because now the people of Germany are witnessing new alliances. There are supplies coming from Japan now. There are workers coming from Japan now. And there are Germans who are being sent to Japan. So this shows how Germany is not only building up their country to be bigger and better, but also the fact that they're starting to make and become more independent. Then we're going to jump forward 3 years. After Germany has taken Austria, which is one of the ones you're going to be reading, after Germany takes the Sudetenland and Czechoslovakia again, which is something you're going to read, Hitler starts his eyes on Poland, the next largest, biggest region near him. Now, Poland is a newly formed country. It is weak. It is willing and ripe for a large enough army to take it. And in March 1939, Hitler makes he reaches out to Poland and says, "Hey, let's join us. Join us, the Nazi Party, the Nazi government, the Nazi Germany, so we can be one big united country, because the Soviet Union, your next door neighbor, is going to attack you. They're going to conquer you. And the only way you can be safe is if you you join us." At which point the Polish forces said, absolutely not. The Polish government said, no, we're not going to join you. Because ultimately, you say you're here to protect us, but in reality, you're just going to conquer us like you have already done. And between March and September 1939, Hitler goes back and forwards between Britain, France, Poland, and the Soviet Union on whether he is going to invade Poland All these countries are severely against Hitler. All these countries are severely against what Hitler is going to do. And in September 1939, Hitler invades Poland, which is the official start of World War II. But before we can move on and dive into World War II, we need to understand what happened just beforehand that really caused the larger spark for World War II. This is the Nazi-Soviet Pact of Non-Aggression, also known as the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. Now, this pact takes place August 39, a month before Hitler invades Poland during the Polish crisis. And what this is it's an agreement to not attack each other, because the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany are not friends. They are not buddies. They don't like each other. They will continue to resist each other. But Hitler reaches out and says, look, we don't like each other. We're probably going to be able to go to war with each other eventually, but I'm not going to go to war with you for the next 10 years if you promise not to go to war with me for the next 10 years. And that's exactly what we see in the terms. The first thing is the fact that we got 10 years where we won't fight each other. We won't go rounds. We won't do anything like that. We'll be away from each other. And the Soviet Union said, or Stalin said, that's not that good enough deal. I need a bigger deal. And so Hitler said, how about this? You and I will both invade Poland. Right, as we can see here, we'll both invade Poland. You'll take half, I'll take half, and we can stay out of each other's way and not attack for 10 years. And the Soviet Union was like, okay, this is a better deal, but not the best deal. And so Hitler says, fine, this is my last agreement here. You and I will split Poland. You can take Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, and Finland, and I will have the rest of Western Europe, away from all of the people who you also don't like. So you have your side, I'll have my side, everyone will be happy. And in August 23rd, 1939, the Soviet Union makes the agreement and says, absolutely, that is grand. And they make this agreement, which then, after Hitler invades Poland, which right here is what actually happens, when Hitler invades Poland and takes half of it, that is the start of World War II, because now the Nazi forces are going to go from Poland to Denmark to Norway to Belgium to Luxembourg, France, and so on and so forth.